our show Happy Friday. We do the show every Friday, 12:30 to 2:30. So if you're hearing the sound of my voice live, that means it is a Friday. So good afternoon and welcome to the weekend. Christiansted, Frederickstead, Phil, why not? St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, Water Island, BVI, Joss Van Dyke, Tortola, Up Island, Down Island, St. Kitts, Nevis, and really welcome to the world, because you can also catch us streaming live over Facebook and YouTube and Twitch TV. As you probably know, Children of the Sun is dedicated to positive energy from a fifth dimensional perspective. So I like to showcase people on the program who are contributing positive energy locally, nationally, and internationally. And my next guest fits into all three categories. My guest is St. Croix's own Michael Conception Lee, aka the Holistic Jedi. So hi, Michael. Thank you for coming on the program.
Always welcome. Very.
You went to Complex, right?
Yeah. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, I was breaking up. I'm wondering, did the students and teachers at Complex, you think they would have predicted that you would have wound up doing what you do?
I think some of my friends already knew I was going to do something with health, because I was already all over health. Because when I was in high school, I guess before high school, I was always crazy about health, because growing up from the ages of 8 to 13, I was in the hospital every month for asthma. It was bad. Yeah, I had to be hospitalized, and they would have me on the steroids. They would have me on the IV. They would have me on the albuterol, the machine, the respirator or nebulizer. So early on here, it was really clear to me that, they didn't know what the hell they were doing. So when I was 13, that's when I started really taking back, I would say. I started doing push-ups in the hospital. The blood went up the IV because it was too much pressure in the blood, and they took off the IV. And I never had to go to the hospital again.
Wow.
Stopped eating a whole bunch of things. I mean, my asthma every year stopped because I simply started eating simply. I started eating tuna fish and crackers as a staple.
Did you read something about it, or you were just intuitively guided to give up the foods that were causing the asthma?
When I would eat cheese, when I would eat a bunch of rice and beans and chicken and bread, it was just really clear. I would be stuffy, I would feel heavier, and so I just stopped eating those things. I just stopped eating cheese. I stopped eating a lot of rice and beans and chicken and milk-based dairy products, and it was like the weight. Like I lost so much weight really quickly, and then I started playing football. Yeah.
Asthma to playing football.
Oh yeah, man. It was a big shift. And then when you get really into it, it's like you become obsessed with the new thing that you see makes you feel great and healthy and happy. So, yeah, man, that was I would say that was my beginning. Just looking around me and realized that people didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I said, if I'm gonna feel like this, I might as well choose what I want to choose for myself and deal with the consequences for myself, versus continuing to take a shot, go to the hospital, give my mother crazy medical bills, and have to repeat this process over and over. That didn't make sense to me at 12 and 13.
Wow. Yeah. And so then what, you started just really looking into diet and nutrition, and that's kind of like what you do now with people, but it's a lot more than that.
Yeah. Well, that started me, and then I say, what was it, 20 years ago? 20 years ago, that was, what was it, green tea, noni juice. These were some of the things that were in the market. They were really pushing it at the time. So I was just jumping on to everything that sounded good.
Right.
Maca root, and so that was then. But then going into after college, after college, after I got a few gifts courtesy of lawless lovemaking, I'll just keep it real, lawless lovemaking in college. Um, I got a few gifts from college called and a few incurable STDs, um, basically genital warts and herpes, and
Oh,
I refused. I was like, I'm 21. This is not going down like this. I'm not about to live like this. And then I heard about Dr. Sebi, and I studied Dr. Sebi. And then I heard about Lila Africa. I studied him. I heard about Jewel Pookrum. I heard about Mantak Chia. I heard about Bruce Lipton. And I just became really obsessed with studying because after it was 6 to 8 months, I can't remember exactly when it happened, but after I healed myself of those things, I said, holy shit,
yeah.
how is it that this is possible? If this is possible, how much stuff do I don't know? How much things is there in the world that I just have no clue about? What's the upper limits to this? And I became obsessed. Right? I became extremely obsessed. I was more obsessed about learning than a man that, let's say, spent 20 years in prison and is finally able to see his wife. I was
Yeah.
more obsessed than that man there, and to the point where I got a job working security just so I could sit down and read.
Yeah, I've heard that's a great job
Oh
for
yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, Ray. You there? That's the St. Croix reception.
Um,
I didn't hear anything.
I've heard that security is a great job for personal growth.
Oh, it was,
I mean, because you can do whatever you want. You can study at night while you're watching everything.
Ray.
I mean, you're not
If
the
I'm
first.
if I'm
Yeah.
being completely transparent, which I always love to be, it was the most it's the best experience I ever had working a job because it not only let me learn books, it let me learn relationships because I worked in the same school that I went to. I went to Georgia State University.
Wow.
So it taught me a whole bunch of holistic information, but it taught me something that I think most men in particular, they don't really learn in their lifetime, and that lesson was pleasure. The amount of pleasure you will ever get outside of yourself will never be enough, ever. The thing that is the most pleasurable is the thing that you always have inside. Because I worked at Georgia State, and for those of you who do not know, Georgia State is a school where the ratio of heterosexual men to heterosexual females is probably around 15 to 1.
Okay.
It's horrible for the women out there, but for a young Caribbean man, it's a heaven. So, after you've done enough things, you realize that pleasure is an illusion and you will never get it outside of yourself. It is always temporary and fleeting. And for me, being 23 and being able to learn that, it really shifted the way that I approach relationships and people. It takes you out of being an animal and it brings you into acting more like a human, which I think, especially here in the islands here, most men never really learn that. They live their whole lives controlled by something that's temporary. It's crazy, but
Well, that's
understandable.
part of yeah. That's part of the emotional intelligence you talk to people about, as well as diet and health.
You know, yeah, and I think we said it before. I know we didn't do an intro or anything, but it's so very important because if people just people need to learn to use their higher brains, or their heart rather, because without that, then there's no distinction between them and an animal. And no offense to anybody, but consider this. Consider it for real. The only difference between a human being and an animal is that an animal repeats what is their instinct. But a human being can become more than what they previously were because we were given the gift of being able to use a mind that can think and speak and create unique things. When we are in fear, when we are in anxiety, and when we are in our lower brains, we never make it out of our animal brain. And so that's why it's so hard for people to change things, right? So as long as they're in that animal brain, they're trapped and they can't feel. They only see people as things to take something from or get something from or to do something with, and that's what's created, I personally believe, all the problems we have in the world. Most of the problems we have would disappear if people learned how to exercise what the teacher from the UVI, who I can't remember his name, but he used to teach critical thinking. That's what he would say. If people just used critical thinking, this place would be a paradise. The whole world would be a paradise, right? But it's because we fail to think critically that we continue to do the same things, listening to the same people, getting the same results, and not liking it, but still doing the same thing. So
Yeah. And
it,
over and over and over and over and over again. And when you find out, like you study with people like Dr. Seve, and you remind me a lot of Dr. Schultz, who went and studied with, he was supposed to be
mm,
dead when he was 20, by the time he was 21. So he went and studied with all these famous herbalists and learned everything they had to teach him so he could heal himself. And then not only are you amazed at the results, you're also scratching your head like, why doesn't everyone know this? Like, why isn't this widely available knowledge? And then you get, people get the unhealthy lifestyle almost guarantees that you stay locked in that fear and survival mode. So you're
mhm.
always chronically stressed out, and so you're not able to think critically. You're constantly reacting to how you misperceive everything. So it's like diet and health, healthy lifestyle, a healthy mental attitude, the way you look at things, having a healthy emotional.
It's all connected.
It's
That's
all
what I think. That's what people miss, and it was intentional. It's like when for those of you who read the Bible, that was my foundation because I went to Free Will Baptist Christian School. But it's like the story of the Tower of Babel, right? Everybody spoke the same language, and so they started to build a tower so they could reach the height of God, right? And and God or whatever saw that, and he said, no, we can't have this. We can't have you doing this. So he split everybody's language up, and they couldn't work together anymore because they didn't understand one another, aka they couldn't connect with one another. There was a disconnect, and that disconnect created disharmony, so they couldn't be functional. I think within that story, you really see it because when you're speaking the language of health, it's become a different, separate language than the language of legalese, than the language of psychology, than the language of biochemistry. You see, all of these different things have been separated: science, religion, psychology, all the fields. But when we begin to see things like Nikola Tesla would say, he would say, when you begin to see things as far as frequency, energy, and vibration, then you begin to see the profound wisdom of all these ancient cultures that would continually reiterate that everything is connected and all things are one. And then you begin to experience it. You begin to see how the elements of our life are all connected, just like the rain will fall and it will then be reabsorbed by the clouds and redistributed. And that same water that existed 2,000 plus years ago that Jesus drank is the same water that's being redistributed today. You begin to see that, and life takes on a new meaning. It's I try to tell everybody, it's not about it's not about anything but self-realization. because once you see how magical this place is, you never want to live the way you do in that. It's like living in a little box. Why would I want to stay in a pool when I have access to all of the ocean all over the world? And most people can never get to that because, like you said, they are absolutely eating the foods that keep them addicted, clocking into the job they don't like to get the money to then try to spend that money on things that make them feel better. It's an asylum. You know, it's been intentionally made to be that way because if people really got a taste of what's already inside of them and the awe and wonder of the world, they would do what our parents did. They would live off the land. Most of their food would come off the yard. You know, they wouldn't eat as much. They wouldn't spend money frivolously on $200 for hair or $100 for shoes or $1,500 for a gold chain. They'll save that and do better things with it because they're no longer trying to live to suppress their emotions.
Yeah, spend the money on things that make you feel better and feel better from within, for real, instead of spending it on, like they say, going to a job you hate, to buy stuff you don't want, to impress people you don't like.
It's insane. Like, you know, so whatever can be done, you know, if there's, we're on Facebook Live, right?
Yes.
So if anybody comes in and asks questions, you know, I'm always really always open to ask questions. You know, if not, then maybe we can start to think about the things that are pressing here, the things that are pressing here for the people of the island.
Yes.
You know, that way we can zone in on the solutions.
Yeah. So if you want to call in, we're happy to have you guys call in and ask Michael any questions you might have. So the phone number, you can either call my cell at 340-220-1614. That's 340-220-1614. Michael, you want to give them your cell?
If they call my cell, then this is on the
Oh,
phone.
that's what you're using. Okay.
Yeah, we'll be
So
in trouble.
call the cell, and I'm going to hold the phone up to the microphone. And that's how we'll take questions today. Or you can type them into the chat box on Facebook or YouTube. If you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, just type in your question and we'll see it, or I'll be watching for them. Yeah, I mean, like,
what do we want to touch first, man, until we get a question?
well, I think like your kind of like mission statement, that your basic core belief that people need to love each other. All we have is each other, and a little more controversial. The past does not exist.
Yeah, I mean,
let's go. All we have is love, and that is like, I watched your video recently on Facebook talking about why do the people who are from here not own the houses, the land, the boats, the gas stations, the grocery stores. And I think part of that is because people are not loving each other here and let the past control their present and therefore their future. I think it's connected.
That's the theme. I think that's the theme, that if everyone just began to repeat, like we made that a mantra, just as much as people say, yeah, the man. You know, if people said everything is connected, instead of peace, peace, or hello, or good morning, you know, they started to think in terms of connectivity. It would, look, you know, what you just said, I'm going to say something that's going to be controversial, you know, because people let the past dictate their future. And it's like, when you really think about history, the real history that's never been taught, everything operates like a cycle. Everything is a cycle. So you think about the 400 plus years that, you know, African people were enslaved. You know, you can go back and it was a much longer period of time that You know, other people were enslaved. You could go even further back. You know, you start to realize that how can you base your future based off of past and let the emotions of the past dictate the present future when it doesn't matter? And when I say that, I'll say it like this. I want to use the right example, so I'll use myself. What we identify as trauma is only trauma once we choose to make it trauma. My sister, and what pushed me to do what I'm doing in the capacity that I'm doing right now, is that my sister died in the hospital 7 years ago, giving birth to my nephew.
Oh,
And
wow.
she was taking her moringa. She was taking those health things that are supposed to be healthy because I was a holistic health practitioner, right? But she died due to emotions being more valuable than the things that you eat. Without healthy emotions, you can't be healthy, which is why fear is what's pushed and promoted in every single place of life. But that being the point I'm trying to make is I can look back at what happened 7 years ago and I can allow that to create trauma in me. I can allow it to shut me down. I can allow it to make me depressed, have anxiety, eat out of emotions, and do nothing. Or I can allow that experience to become a catalyst for something that feeds my purpose and something that makes me get up in the morning or pulls me up when I'm depressed. Because now I have something to do. I have to make that mean something to me, or I have to do something about it. And the same way I use that example is the same way that everybody needs to rethink these things that weigh them down. Because
Right.
at the end of the day, every person that I ever do anything for, their main problem is not the food they're eating. It's the emotions that are running through them that's causing them to go back to the foods they're eating. That's causing them to do the negative behaviors that they don't even want, but they can't escape because they're addicts. Right?
And
So,
they use the food to suppress people.
exactly. But it's not just that. You know, think about it like this. Everybody had, you know, if you eat the SAD diet or the standard American diet, everybody ate turkey, macaroni and cheese, and stuffing every Thanksgiving,
Mm-hmm.
right? And every Thanksgiving, that was usually a really fun and happy time, right?
Right.
Because all the family comes together. It's a lot of love.
You associate.
They're connected now. So now when you try to get off of the food, because we don't know how to organize our thinking, when we begin to say, this food is bad, I can't eat it, I'm never going to eat it, I need to get rid of it, it's killing me. What's happening inside the brain is that now you're losing all of the love that was connected to those things that are connected to it. So what you need to do is do some internal organizing, because you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You want to keep the good and just get rid of the bad, transform it. But that's something most people aren't taught. But once you get people to realize, I can call on all of the love and all of the excitement and all of the good times that happened with that food association without demonizing the food, but just saying, I'm choosing better. It changes the whole internal mechanism so where the new habit is more sustainable, because you can get the same texture and taste from those foods with spices if you just put them on mushrooms, if you just make sesame based or cashew based cheese. You can get all these same flavors from healthier options.
Yeah, I've
Again,
often said people don't really like meat. What they like is the spices that they cook the meat with.
hello, you know, that's all it comes down to. You know, I told people if they can grow, you know, all these Beyond Meats and all these soys are completely synthetically processed. And I said, if they can
And the
grow a piece of
saltiest.
meat, if they can grow a piece of meat in the lab, they can make literal fecal matter taste delicious with spices. Don't you think that you should just learn how to use spices in your salads and in your bean burgers and in your mushroom pasta? If you do that, you get the best of both worlds, you
And the
know?
vegetables that you bring in from your backyard, so you know what was put on it.
Don't even get me started because I had a dream. I have a dream so very often. Every now and then, at least about 2 or 3 times a year, where I'm driving through St. Croix and there's nothing but fruits and lemongrass and basil, and on the side of the road is like, where you're going down the highway. You're going down the highway and you can basically slow down to like 25, 30 miles an hour and reach out your hand like this, and then
Yeah.
you just grab, poof, you got your basil right there. But that's what it could be. But again, if people were actually taught the things that were relevant, then none of the problems could exist. And if the problems didn't exist, then people wouldn't be able to be controlled. And
Well, it's like we're taught, trained, raised, conditioned to be disempowered serfs and peasants.
I mean, if we got to start to take a macro look at everything. If we take a macro look at everything that's going on in the world, it's very clear. It's never been about the crayon color battle or black versus white. It's always been about a few people curating how history goes.
Right.
It's beyond just black and white. It's how do we maintain control of a population that is, if they didn't have these things in place, we would be doing what the Aboriginals do in Australia, something called dream time, where they go to sleep and collectively have group dreams together, group trips in dream space together, where they go places and learn. We would be able to heal ourselves with breathing and water and chlorophyll alone. Everything is real simple. It's just people are never given the time to just be still so that they can begin to use this. That's why everything keeps us busy.
You have to keep them on the hamster treadmill so they never realize they're in prison.
School, you wake up, you just come out your mother's womb, you get dropped in a daycare. You go from daycare, then you go to preschool. You go from preschool to middle school to high school to college and then into your work. And then, as a way to just get the stress off of you, you engage in sexual intercourse, and then you pop out babies, and then the babies take up all of your time, so you have to go back to work, and then you keep on working. The baby, it's like The Sims. I don't know if anybody's ever played The Sims, but it's like, how? I can't even, at this point, when I hear parents telling people, oh, go to college and get a job, it's like, I know that person hasn't had the time to learn enough information to think critically, because there's millions of dollars just all over. Like, if you really think about it, how much trillions of dollars does the pharmaceutical industry make? You don't need to do a lot just to get a small percentage that will put you in 5 figures a year so you can do what you love to do or do something better than just clocking in. There's money everywhere. So I it's hard for me to understand, but at the same time I still do, because I understand people never think.
Well, I think a lot of it's not really set up that way because they want to make even more money than the trillions they already have. It's more about maintaining their power. If we became able to like stop for a minute, catch our breath, have healthy body, mind, and emotions, so we could like look at what's going on in the world, we would say no. And they know that we would say no, so they want to keep us weak and addicted to processed foods and unable to think clearly and always craving the next fix of the anxiety releasing thing that we do to deal with the stress. And so ultimately we know it's not right. That's why everybody's so stressed out and tense in their bodies all the time, because on some deep level they know they're their life.
Ray, you hit it. You hit it, Roy. You hit it. Like, I used to say that there's three types of people, right? There's people that don't know, and they don't know that they don't know. There's people that think they know and they don't know at all. And then there's people that know but are so overwhelmed by how much stuff is wrong that they have what's called information overload, or they're just unable to do anything because the weight of the truth is just too heavy to bear.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But the truth is everybody knows subconsciously. And because again, all things are one and everything is connected. The same way we're connecting through the Wi-Fi to have this live call is the same way all of our minds are connected. So 100 monkey theory, but one monkey in Australia starts using a spoon, another monkey in the United Kingdom starts using it, and all the monkeys all over the world can now use a utensil in order to eat. Right? So because that's why at the end of the day, because we know the people that eat these foods and live certain lifestyles, we know deep down they know, and they are terrified and in pain, and they rather live the way they do than end up on the opposite spectrum where a lot of the conscious people even in this community have ended up. They end up in the truth but unable to connect with others and themselves on a energy source that allows them to continue to thrive in a way where they can not just take care of themselves but they can take care of others. So do they want to be in the truth and be overwhelmed by it, or do they want to pretend like it doesn't exist and just continue to eat and live the way they do? I think when there's enough people like myself, that's to say, when I become a millionaire and I'm able to help 20 other people make $50,000 a month from being a millionaire or more, then other people will begin to see there's another way. I can live like this and still have everything that I want and more. Not running away from the truth, but embracing the truth. When we can make the truth something that doesn't create fear, but instead creates an amazing sense of liberation, then everything changes. Everything.
Oh
Everything.
yeah, that's like the um, a, a vision for the, if not the world, at least St. Croix, that
Yeah, you got to start
most
small.
people don't believe is possible. But it's like it's only because you don't believe it's possible is what makes it difficult.
It's just about, I say, I think it's just about people having these conversations more openly, right? If we could get, think about this, if we could get 500 people to tune into specific dialogues, right? And when you have money, you can do something like this because you could say, hey, if you show up to the live, like, share, comment, we are going to give you $10 off your next meal at our establishment, so that we'll literally give you $10 off. That way, it's not like it's hurting your pocket. You can just make a little bit of profit, but not a lot of profit. But now you funnel people to pay attention, right?
Right.
You do something like that. You get 500 people to get specific information, and you make it in a way to where it's entertaining and engaging, and they talk about it. Then guess what's going to happen? Those 500 people are going to tell 500 more people, and then it's going to create a snowball. So just like this, for very little money lost or given, we can change the status quo of people becoming eaten by this fat monster blob that eats everybody here in the Virgin Islands. I don't know what to call it, but everyone gains weight because they eat an incredible amount of starchy, sugary, fatty foods. And just like that, you could create a snowball which would make in 3 years everybody begin to look like how people in California used to look like in the 70s and 80s. All right, I know you remember that, right? The good times,
Yeah.
man. It's just about creative thinking and trust and openness, transparency. A lot of people speaking the truth in a world that's been designed by lies. People attack you for speaking the truth. And it's okay because a lot of those people that still operate like that, they're kind of dying off, just like the church. Religion in on this island, it's very clear that it's dissipating because it never had enough oomph or or it has nothing. All it is another source of fear. And most people don't even have the capacity to process more fear, so they've just pushed it to the wayside, right? I have all these problems already. Why am I going to take on the problem of where my soul goes? You know, I'm going to die anyway. That's the thought process, right? So now they're lawless. So what, as more and more as religious thinking dies, you know, and more people like myself come to the surface and own businesses and engage in the community, the problem has fixed itself, because we're not going to go to a senator or a governor or an establishment. We'll just do group economics and we'll have everything we want.
Yeah, build it from the ground up instead of trying to affect change from the top down.
Yeah, man.
Just like ignore the top down system. What when you work with people in terms of their health and healing, so other than like if somebody comes to you for a specific condition, what kind of like how do you work with them? Like one-on-one, where you do an analysis of what they're eating? What would be like your go-to thing that you would want everybody to know in terms of healthy eating?
This is a good question. Basically, when someone comes to me, you know, I have to assess them. You know, they'll come to me. Most people come to me and they give me the problem immediately. They say, I have this going on. The doctor says this. The doctor says this. I've been taking this. What do I do? I don't know where to start. And so first I give people education. I let them know this is how your body works. These are the things that are possible. So it opens up their mind to see the possibilities. And then depending on the circumstance, because everyone's different, you know, if it's a pressing issue, then I have to know what's going on inside the body. I don't just say, oh, high blood pressure, clean the liver, or oh, kidney failure, you know, or this disease, this herb, because that's really just practicing it's practicing medicine just using herbs. And I do not practice medicine. I am not a medical practitioner. You should always go see your licensed medical practitioner. You know, go, you know, because that's not what I do. Holistic health is about you taking the steps so the body heals itself. So
Which
I'll
can some,
have people.
yeah. And the thing about that is that process, and and I do the same thing with breath work and
Yeah,
and affirmations. It can heal, but it can take time. And if you're in a situation where you're going to be dead in 6 months, we say keep taking the medicine so you can give your mind time to change its thinking.
this is so. We're gonna dive
Just to
deep into
buy
that
you
in just a
time.
second.
And I want you to buy the time so we can get you off the drugs and you get truly healed. Your body heals itself. So now that's a permanent thing. And you're not dealing with the side effects of the pill you're taking for disease A. 10 years down the road, the side effects give you disease B. And now you've got a new set of pills to take, and you're just like a cash machine for the AMA.
So you said you opened the door for two new things, but I wanted to finish what I was first. I was just gonna
Okay.
say before you opened up the door, because you opened the door on two things, and I'm gonna try to hold them. So basically, when people come to me, I do what's called a bioresonance scan. The bioresonance scanner is able to measure every single biological process and material in your body to tell me what is going on, down to the emotional level. So
Wow.
just through voice and voice alone, it can scan and it will tell me what your iron, what your calcium, what your magnesium, what all these different things are, what meridians are blocked. And from that, we can treat the emotion with intentionally breathing. We can treat the emotion with, we can treat all of the symptoms of the body with the basis of healing, which is your breathing, your water intake, the things that you put into your stomach, and the things that you consume through your mind. Now, as far as you open the door on medication, the medication, you think about it like this. Your body has a regular way of functioning. When that function is no longer happening because of the insalubrious way you live your life, these elements that destroy the body, that mechanism no longer works. And so the capsule or the medication is a synthetic version that activates that process. You can look at it like that. There's many different ways I can paint the picture, but this is a very good way to look at it. So when you're taking this medication, your body becomes addicted to it. Your body becomes stabilized, controlled, and maintained by the medication. So
Right.
trying to come off of the medication is just like a crackhead trying to come off drugs. Your body's going to go through withdrawals. Your body is going to stop functioning even more. And then on top of that, when you stop taking it, your body begins to detox and eliminate it out, which creates even more of a burden on the body. So, I mean, I have to tell people all the time because they say, oh, I want to get off of this. Well, family, you've been on the medication for 15 years. Safely, I would say, let's do this over the course of 12 months. But there's no way you're going to stop taking that. If you stop taking that right now, you're going to be in the hospital tomorrow. You can't do that. If you broke your leg or sprained your knee, do you just slap a noni leaf on it and just begin to walk on it? No, you don't. If you plant a seed, it takes years for that fruit, depending on what it is, to bear fruit. So you got to take your time, man. You can't expect everything to be instant gratification. And unfortunately, a lot of baby boomers feel like that because they lived in a time where inflation didn't exist. Right? So, and they could buy everything from QVC and all these different places. But that's not how it works. That's not how anything works.
Well,
Anytime,
yeah, that's true about a lot of things, isn't it? The lack of patience and wanting instant self gratification. People sometimes aren't willing, don't have the patience to put the time in that it will take. They want like overnight result. I get my McDonald's in 30 minutes at the drive through. I want to write down, I am now a millionaire 10 times in my journal, and by tomorrow morning, have $1 million in my bank account. But
yeah, the secret left out a big detail, and the detail is you got to put in the consistent work. And the consistent work, you taking those steps consistently, will create a thought process or a vortex that creates faith. Faith is the result of consistent action, not just sitting down believing something. Right? It's
well, like it's like you can be on the best, most healthiest diet in the world, but if your thoughts aren't right, it's not you're not going to get any healthier. It's all interconnected.
and I can't tell you how much people reach out to me daily through social media, and they tell me
Yeah, you
I've
got a ton of
heard.
followers on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean that's where I do most of my promotion. So I've been on there for like 6 years just teaching people. So it took a while, but it's there. But a lot of them reach out and they say, I have the herbs, I've been taking this, I've been eating the food. Why is it not working? And I tell them, one, you're using Dr. Sebi's method, and Dr. Sebi created that method, and it was working 20 years ago. 20 years ago, we didn't have 5G. 20 years ago, we didn't have the level of electromagnetic radiation exposure through looking at screens and our phones. We didn't have nearly the amount of TV programming. So you need to understand the environment's changed. Even the oxygen content on the whole planet has gone down because of all the fires, because of all the polluting of the oceans, which has been destroying the seaweeds that create oxygen and the plants that create oxygen. Right? So if the environment changes, then the conditions that your body needs to be healthy changes, and you need to do more than what you were doing 20 years ago to maintain health because the
And
environment is more toxic.
and the nutritional value of the foods that we eat, because the
You
soil
know,
is being depleted, is not as healthy as it was 20 years ago, not as good for us as it was 20 years ago. So,
exactly.
and as far as so I mean, I maybe like, what do? Put people, have them detox first, just to get, because if you got to get the poisons out first before you start healing.
The way I approach it is kind of unique with everybody. I'll feel them out. I'll feel them out like this, and I'll say, okay, well, a lot of people reach out and they really say they don't have money to put towards their health. And because of that, I created 9 different resources that they can download for free, and they can just dive into the information. Because either way, you're going to pay, right? You're going to pay with time. You're either going to pay with trading your time to go to a job to get the money to then buy the things that you need, or you're going to pay with your time to read the information and then apply the information. Either way, you're exchanging time as the medium for the value that you're going to get. So I provide the solutions for people that have no physical fiat money so that they can do it themselves. And then for other people, I do have the products, I do consultations, I do have programs that are just, they work. All you got to do is work. Now, like, I'm even going to add a piece to it to where people can bet on themselves. I'm just telling them, hey, if you follow this program and you show proof every day that you followed it, take pictures, and it doesn't work, I'll give you all your money back. Because
you have a very generous. I mean, you have a very enlightened attitude towards prosperity. Let me say that. It's very because this is available for people, and they should take advantage of it.
The game is rigged, Ray. The game is rigged. Everybody needs to know this. I gotta get closer to say this, because what you give is what you get, and what you get is what you give.
Right.
So if you give what you know is good for people and it helps them, you're always going to be rewarded. You're always going to be, period. So do what you love. It's just that simple. If you're going to respond to somebody, don't give them negativity, because if you come to someone with an attitude, they're going to give you that attitude back with a little extra dressing on it. You don't want that. Why in the world would I want to get something to give or get something that is useless to me, useless to the other person, and just creates and maintains the status quo of division, which creates powerlessness, right? I don't want no parts in that. So because I don't want any parts in that, I'm going to be intentional with how I speak. And I'm going to be really intentional about where I find myself and the people I find myself around with. Because believe it or not, like, everyone walks around like how we maintain and live is normal. But if you really watch the movie They Live and you put on the shades, you put on those, if you put on those shades, man, then you start to see like how we engage with ourselves regularly is like
when
picking
that
up
movie
fecal
came
matter.
out, everybody was saying what a hokey science fiction movie, and I was like, this is like a spiritual parable.
Look, man,
amazing movie.
All you got to do is watch the first part. You don't really have to watch the end. You just have to watch half of the movie and you get the message. But it's like people, you would think someone is weird if they went to use the bathroom and they wiped their behinds and then they balled up the toilet paper and then they deep fried it and they ate it with chicken, right? We would say that's nuts, that's crazy. But everybody eats fecal matter every day when they eat meat. Every day. Every day when people drink milk, they're drinking pus and blood and rat hairs and heavy metals. So it's like when you start to just peel off those layers, it's like, this is what I try to tell people that I know better, but they're struggling. I say, how are you going to let the opinion of somebody who eats shit bother you? Would you go into the streets and see someone that is paraplegic with a missing leg and a missing arm and a face that's looking like this, and not to say, kindness, and I'm sorry, but I'm just making an example that I'm talking. But you wouldn't go to someone like that that's angry and start arguing back and forth about them as they argue with you to tell you the sky is green and the grass is blue. You wouldn't argue with that person. So stop arguing and engaging in conversations that are useless, because then you take on emotions that aren't yours and then you waste time. Like, time is too valuable for stuff like that. Time is too precious. I'll agree to disagree. We only get one life. We only get this body one time around.
Yeah.
Are you going to watch the replay of it and just have to go like this because you realize that you wasted 10 years, 20 years, 30 years doing nothing? No.
Yeah, and yeah, and and you can even make that, even if you believe in reincarnation, when you get reborn, you forget everything that you learned. Takes you the first 20 just to catch up to where you were. So
And that's I think that's the difference between individuals, because we don't really forget everything that we knew. Depending on how well we connect to love, or the heart, or the heart of the world, that energy, depending on how well we connect to it, that determines the download speed from the things that we learned from the past lives.
right,
So I've met people, man. Telling you, I've met some incredible human beings that can do amazing things, and they knew exactly what they did in previous lifetimes.
yeah,
And that's because they didn't stuff their brain with useless information that keeps their brain like muddy water, so they can't see the picture.
yeah,
All right, so and uh, it's so life is so magical, man. People don't realize I'm in this body, this go around. You're in this body, go around. And when you really think about spirituality, which and metaphysics, which has been completely mixed in with religious thinking, black and white don't really exist, because you're this complexion in this lifetime, and I'm this complexion. But I have looked in the mirror, man, when I dream, and I've been an Asian woman.
wow,
I've been a Italian sailor. I've seen myself as so many different things, and that's what when people really can just get a taste. And that's why I know we spoke previously a few days ago. I said that's why mushrooms and ceremonies, controlled, safe ceremonies, conducted legally in religious groups, are going to be a thing. Because once you do that, you no longer play this little Sims game thinking that you are just this name and this body. You stop. It's done.
yeah,
The gig is up. You're no longer
yeah.
easily to be controlled.
Yeah, and one of the most important things in my life was having during breathwork sessions where I saw that
Mm.
I was not limited to this body.
You came right out, man. You just poof.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
you
man.
just see right through it, and then it completely changes your perspective on everything.
Isn't it
Well, we got a
magical?
question. We have a question here. Um, and this kind of is related to your mission statement, and it's kind of related to what we were just talking about.
Okay.
Uh, it comes from Marlene Cross. Thank you, Marlene. Can one actually love without forgiveness?
No. Because if you can't forgive someone, then the energy can't flow. It'll create
Right.
a blockage. And if you can't forgive someone, then there's no way that you understood why that act itself was an essential lesson for you to grow from. So forgiveness and love is the energy that happens when you are in flow with gratitude, thankfulness, and forgiveness. And so you can, but it would be a conditional love. That's what I will say. And a conditional love is not really a love. It's a bastardized version of what it's actually supposed to be.
Yeah, was and it's the ego's version of
It
true love.
doesn't liberate. If you're really loving, then you're liberating
And
in
that's
some way,
connected to
shape,
what
or
you
form.
were saying about the past doesn't exist.
Exactly. So that's what I would tell her. For someone that needs to work on forgiveness, I think you need to I think you need to realize that everything that you experience is karmic. So you can't remember what it is that you've done, especially since you asked that question. You can't remember what it is that you've done in all the times you've ever existed, but all you can do is accept what's happened, especially when it's beyond your control, and find a way to find the silver lining, because nothing exists as a negative or a positive. Everything that happens here on this plane is governed by polarity. So
But
you can
I
find,
don't think Marlene was asking from the like an oppositional like viewpoint. Maybe the audio broke up. I think she's promoting that. She's saying, can one actually love without forgiveness? I think she would agree with you.
yes,
She's just
yes,
sort
you're
of
right.
like she's trying to like, egg us on to say this, that you have to have forgiveness to have unconditional love.
Yeah,
I often say that, like, if you want to get really simplistic, and simple is always better, the the essential thing for physical healing, emotional healing, and spirituality is: are you flowing the energy of unconditional love through your body 100% of the time, everywhere? And if you are, great. If you're not, if there's a blockage, find the blockage and find out why you have that blockage and heal the blockage.
that's it. And
But
it's how you
because
do
how sensitive to energy, how what your techniques are. Some people have to go through a 12-month detox program to get to the point where they can even begin to like appreciate that and feel it.
some people. It doesn't have to take that long. It just depends on how emotionally connected you are. If you can connect the actions that you're doing on a daily basis to the highest ideal, the goal that makes you feel the most excited, that makes you feel the most fulfilled, then the anticipation of knowing that you're getting closer to that goal makes you get there quicker than having to walk uphill or fight the anxiety, that comes if you don't have a clear picture, or you're not driven by passion and purpose and love. So, you know, I think I think it's like Ernest Nightingale said. If you do not have a destination, then how can you get to where you want to go? So people's problems is not having a clear picture of where that is. That's that's where all your problems come from. Because if you're clear on where you're going and you map out the steps you need to take, then you're no longer lost and confused and anxious, because you are taking action. And when you take action, you get results. That's just what it is. It's that simple. Simplicity is key.
Yep. Yeah, Marlene just wrote in unforgiveness is a blockage. Thank you.
Yep.
Unforgiveness is a blockage. Yeah.
Yep. And people need to forgive just to free themselves. Not it's not about it's really it's kind of really selfish when you think about it, because you forgive for yourself. The side effect and the side benefit is the person. You help them in an energetic way by letting go of the hate that you hold towards that person. Hate is so useless. It only feeds the things that nobody wants. So why engage it? So let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I mean, yeah, I have personal experience on that, so yeah, I would agree 100%.
All of us do. All of us
Yeah.
do. Because these egos that teach us so much. Yeah.
Hate and anger are useless. Um, you sound like you might have looked at the Course in Miracles once or twice. Have you, or just are you getting
Which movie?
you? No, the book, A Course in Miracles.
A Course in Miracles. Is that the gentleman that teaches people the scripts that they need in order to
No,
pass life? No, that's messages from the master. That's messages from the masters. That's not A Course in Miracles. Um, It sounds familiar. It
That's the
sounds
big.
familiar, but I can't say
It's
I
the
do.
big. Yeah, Marianne Williamson got famous writing about it. It's a big blue book. It has a text and a workbook that you do an exercise every day for 365 days, and a manual for teachers. And its central point is unconditional love and learning to forgive.
I need to. I'm gonna look that up. A Course in Miracles. I haven't heard it, but it sounds like it would create a lot of structure for the people that I engage with. So I might put that as a free download. That sounds like something very useful. Very, very useful.
Because a lot of, I mean, I just was thinking you probably had, because a lot of what you were saying is kind of like along those lines. But you obviously you um, you don't
Trial and
have
error.
to. Yeah,
Trial
no,
and error.
it just, I think if you came to that understanding without even knowing about that book, you're way ahead of the game. You may not even need the book. There's even the beginning chapter says if you read this and understand it, you don't need the rest of this book. You know, you've already done this, so you don't need it anymore. It's like a universal curriculum that everybody has to take at some point, and if you've already graduated, you don't need to do it again. So
Well,
maybe you graduated in a past life.
well, I still say this. I still gonna look into it because most of the times, I guess what's challenging for me is that I'm here, but how do I get other people to get here? So I've
Right.
designed so many different ways for that, but to have a method that somebody took their time and the intention just for me to look through that book allows me to organize the way that I can more effectively get more people here. Right?
Right.
So I definitely am going to look into it. A Course in Miracles.
Okay, cool. And what do you think? Yeah, what about that? We have like just let's keep this specific to St. Croix. There's a lot of people on this island, like you, and I would like to say like me,
Mhm.
that have something to offer to people so they can get out of their zombie-like robot existence and have not only healthier but happier life. And it seems like we've all got here on the island itself, there's like a handful of people who are interested. But honestly, personally, myself, for the most part, I feel very ignored
Hmm.
here. Um, and
So I,
it's
I
like, and you like, it's like we have powerful islands all doing their thing over in this Frederickstead, Kings Hill, Christenstead, um, associated with like this venue or that. Every venue has its little clique. It's like, and it seems to me like it would be all so much more effective if we came together.
I am 100,000% with you on that. The solution for that, because you know, I found it easier to just do what I do and engage a global audience because there are
Yeah.
so many people across the world that I can engage with certain platforms. And people in St. Croix are just they're a special kind of difficult. I know
Okay,
from
I
from
like that.
being born and raised here. This is home. I went school here my whole life. This is home. But I think it's important for each of us here to do whatever we can to support each other. Like, since I know what you do now, I'm I need to have that packaged in a way where I can just drop a link and give it to people. And we need to promote one another. And by all means, we need to stop being so quiet. We need to speak more. We need to engage more. It should be a place where we come once a month and we talk and share, and it's recorded. Maybe going by Serenity's Nest maybe once a month. There's so much things that can be done, but if we do not create a rhythm of coming together and learning how to support each other in whatever we do, not just business wise, but personally, you know, then it's hard to get the momentum that's needed to break through the brick wall of difficulty. That's
Yeah.
kind of the brick
And
wall.
a lot of times, yeah, people need like a regular monthly meeting. People need structure, and it's like you're basically just creating something real in the physical universe
So
that
my approach,
enables.
doing, I'm gonna tell you, my approach with what I'm doing is to, because when you look at the island, everything is controlled by two main things: fear and pleasure. These two things. So what I hope to do with everything that I'm doing, specifically with people on the island, is to make anything I teach pleasurable, entertaining, and engaging. People like drama. People like people are so wired to drama. So how can I get something that's dramatic, that's entertaining, that's engaging, that's also pleasurable? I haven't really started, and I plan to do it at some point after this, maybe coming into next year. But I think if we just spoke about the things that are going on and the people that there's too much people that have attention that don't deserve it.
Mm.
Right? There are people that aren't as aware and aren't as educated, that have way too much attention. And instead of looking at it like a problem, we need to figure out how to get those people that have all that attention to involve them, to encumber them, to make them benefit off of what we do. Make sense?
Right. Yeah.
Because if I go to someone, if I someone who let's say for monetary or for numbers, let's just say they have about $150,000 worth of attention based off of the people that watch them and will listen to them, because they resonate with them. We are not going to be able to connect to certain people that live in certain ways, but they're people that live in that lifestyle that have an awareness of something more and want to do more. Let's find a way for them to benefit off of whatever it is that we offer. So that's to say, when I next month I'm launching the 20-day group detox, and I'm gonna be giving people the herbs.
It's September 2nd.
What'd you say?
It is September 2nd.
Oh yes, this month on the 22nd, I'm gonna be launching the 20-day group detox. And it gives people everything they need so that they can lose weight and begin to take control of their lives. What I'm doing is for certain people, I'm saying, hey, if you sign somebody up, I'll give you $50. So you sign 3 people up or 4 people up, and it's free for you. And when the cost goes up, because it's a coached program, there are people right now charging you $90 a month just for the gym and $165 a month for training sessions. I'm giving people all of that with the herbs and the daily coaching for $200. So when people get results, so when I take someone from being a woman from being 185 and after the detox in 20 days she lost 20 pounds, then she's going to be excited. She's going to tell all her friends. And then guess what? She can make, if she tells 10 people, when it goes up, she'll make $1,000. If we create systems that allow people to win, then they'll participate in them. Simple. It's just that simple. It's the solution to everything. I'll put it this way. If I were to create a program that gives people the financial portfolio that will allow them to get approved for Pro Solar without having to put any money down, and they're paying $200 a month, and now they don't have to deal with WAPA, then guess what? And I make that something that other people who share it can make $200 off of. I don't know, even more, depending if we could set up a relationship with Pro Solar. Then guess what? WAPA wouldn't even be a problem. You can create a farm to table with the farmers and show them how to scale their business, because they already have end buyers to buy the produce once it's done, because they know how to use the food and to make it delicious food. Then now we no longer have to deal with supermarkets that charge us upcharges for shipping and all this extra crap.
Yeah.
All of this
empowering the people.
Exactly. All of the solutions are right here. You know how cheap water can be, because there's something called atmospheric water generators that pull moisture out of the air, so you can get fresh, clean, distilled water that's never touched plastic in your home. I've
just started to hear about those, and I've even heard that you can get them solar powered.
Yeah, look, is Moses West. He created them. There are about 5 different companies around the world that do it. His brand is just the first one that took it public. The other companies just do private deals with governments. That way they make millions of dollars without having to do any marketing or deal with the kickback of having to deal with large multi-billion trillion dollar businesses. But but yeah, man, that's what's going to happen here because the aquifers are drying up. So what's the solution? The solution is to get 10 of these atmospheric water generators, put them on certain mountains around the island, and run them on solar panels so they're pulling the moisture out the air. And in 5 years, this entire island will be full of water running all over. You can turn the east side of the island green with $3 million in 5 years.
And that seems like a pretty good thing to use at least some of these hundreds of billions of dollars in federal money we're getting from Maria and the pandemic.
Brother,
like, we got a lot of money coming in, and I'm not sure where it's going, but it should. I think implementing your plan of the generators on the mountaintops.
You see this? You see this?
Yeah, I see it.
See this little square? Yep. The reason why none of these things are here is because of ego and nepotism. The people, there was, back when DeYoung was around, he was introduced to the atmospheric water generator because there's some in Puerto Rico already.
Wow.
But I'll tell you, when DeYoung was around, Ray, there was a plan to turn what Lime Tree is or what Hovenza was into a refinery that would take salt water and convert it into pure water and create cheap electricity for everyone in the Virgin Islands. He was paid to reject that.
Wow.
So the problem isn't that there aren't solutions. The problem is that the people keep on electing others who acquiesce to economic hitmen. That's just what it is. Right? And can I blame them? No. Can I be angry with them? Not really. I can sympathize. Because if you are the governor of the Virgin Islands and you know that COVID was a hoax, are you going to get shot like the president of Haiti, like the president of Tanzania? Are you going to do what's right and go through difficulty for people that won't appreciate it anyway? Or are you going to take the free billions of dollars that the federal was giving for COVID relief?
Yeah.
That's a difficult decision. And I'm glad I don't have to make that decision. I'm glad I don't have to make that decision because that's a tough one. Right? So, and when you begin to look at things from those perspectives, then you can begin to have compassion and patience because it's going to take a lot of people, making hard decisions to change this dry, agricultureless, cultureless. And people get mad when I say that, but the marker of culture and true civilization is the ability to disagree and the ability to come together and create something better. And we can see that it's been continually degenerating, So this is not a culture. This is not a healthy culture that we want to own as our own, where people spend more on buying costumes to inebriate themselves and dance with their asses and phalluses showing down the street. That's not a culture. This is, maybe Sodom and Gomorrah is a culture, but it's not one that I want to identify with. That's senseless. $400 on a dress when you could have put $400 into something more useful. Nah, man, come on. But that's just my opinion.
Well, I guess you go to extremes to suppress when you're in extreme pain.
Hey, baby.
Oh, we got a cute little baby girl on the
screen. Hi. It's my little baby girl, Alea. Say hi.
She looks healthy. Must be feeding her right.
Oh yeah, man. She's on CMOS and Ormus and all kind of stuff. She's been in the pyramid for a long time. A physical pyramid. Pyramids are amazing. Once people get a hold of that, That's a whole nother science, man. You know, talking to you just makes me realize, and it strikes a little nerve because you have no idea how much time I've spent talking and telling people that are in positions to actually act on some of these things. You know, but it's like you tell them something and then they go right back into the busy, the busy world that they're in, and it just becomes another sentence down 1,000 places down in the line of their brains. You know,
Yeah.
it's like they only listen when it's something that impacts their own self-preservation. You know, and that's what's happened. Baby, I'm coming. I'm coming. Daddy's coming to play with you. Mhm. Mhm. I gotta. Yeah, in a second after the live. You know, playing with my daughters and playing with children, man. I think people need to play more because it shows them how they have to take things less seriously. And when you put seriousness on things, then it just weighs so much. Makes it hard to move forward.
Yeah, and like keep it light, and every time a particular an apparent problem arises, just refuse to recognize it as a problem. Ask yourself, how can I use this? Like you were saying, when the if we have people that have so much attention, but they're not really aware of any kind of health and healing message, but maybe there's some way where they could we could leverage their $50,000 worth of attention to get our messages out. So that's taking keep it light, take the problem and turn it into a solution.
And that's, you know, to me, that's the beauty that we have doing what we do, Ray. Because when it comes to helping people, I figured the best place to start, and I thought about it for years, and if you want people to really change anything, they have to change how they think. And in order to change how they think, they have to change how they live. Right? So we have the opportunity, like we're in a real special place because we can show people things, and all we have to do is make it an offer that would be insane to refuse. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it for me to tell somebody, if you spend $200 and you don't get the results that you look if you don't get the results that you're looking for after doing it, you get all your money back. And then I tell them, if you get the results that you're looking for, you know, you'll indefinitely be able to get money from anybody that buys anything, any product or service from me, ever. It's it's like a no-brainer. That's like we have the opportunity to do what the current establishments, the current systems aren't doing. That is share the wealth, right? Hospitals don't go to you and give you a referral for sending people to the establishment.
Yeah, it's like it's an economy based on fear, scarcity, conflict, and competition. And the economy does not that's not the only way economies have to work. People
I,
just need to be open to it.
I got to share this one with you, and I'm gonna share it just because it's already done and it's getting ready to roll out, and it's kind of been the big kicker, um, that I've just been waiting for. You know, there's gonna be a system that when you tell other people about it, you're gonna be able to make money off of every transaction that they do throughout the year because it's gonna be a digital online bank. So that's to say, wherever all your money is, you would be able to use your money and refer other people. And if they spend $60,000 a year, you're gonna get a fraction. You know, it's not a lot, but you get money for just referring people to the digital bank. That's because they're not paying for an overhead, a building. They're not paying for tellers. They're basically taking that money that they would pay employees and redistributing it to the people because it's all an automated system. It's amazing. So when that rolls out, that's going to be very interesting because businesses will be able to participate in it and people will be able to participate in it. And now all these banks that have very shitty credit offerings and give very shitty approvals, will no longer be a factor because it's also a bank. You know, that's
Wow.
that's.
That'll be great.
I feel like it's so much, man. Yeah, it's so much. I just stick to the health. You just you kind of see my excitement because you opened up the door for business, and my mind is very business oriented, very business oriented. So I'll digress. Gotta drink some more zeolites.
So what are you
I've always
drinking?
um, it's a combination of humic fulvic acid, humic fulvic acid, something called deuterium sulfate, and a little bit of zeolites. It's a little mix. Um, if someone were to drink
And
this,
what does zeolites do? Tell us about why you're drinking that water. What is it doing for you?
um, so humic fulvic acid is basically the nutrient that plants use to make them grow very, very, very big. It usually exists in like dense rainforests where the mycelium network is able to break down that soil so well. It's a byproduct of that. So I take that so that it can feed me nutrients and prep my microbiome so I can digest foods better. And the zeolites is a sort of a metal detox because right now we have the remnants of geoengineering and we have so much metals in our food, in our water, and everything. um, it's good to take things that bind to those heavy metals so that it can push out of the body. And so that's it's a tincture that I have that I drink. I drink it all the time. Deuterium sulfate is something that's really hard to come by, but it is, how to describe that? It's a naturally occurring chemical that doesn't exist anymore on planet Earth because the quality of the waters have changed. So
Wow.
someone went to an untouched source of water. They went somewhere down, somewhere up in the Arctic or past the poles. They got some of that water and they tested it, and they saw that it had heavy amounts of deuterium sulfate in it. And they found a way to remake it and package it and put it with something called ocean minerals or ormus, and it's a wonderful thing. You just can't do too much of it because too much energy can be a bad thing. It could be a bad thing, so you don't want to just overdose on it. Just like anything, like I said before, you just take your time with it. Learn how to gauge yourself. Now, if you need a slap in the face with energy, then you slux it down. But you got to learn how to use it.
So
And
like,
most of the
can
time,
people get? Do you sell that water? Or do you have how do you like work online? Do you have it available in any of the local stores, or how do you work? How are you making that available to folks?
most of the things that I have right now, I give people on a one-to-one basis because I only now started to get my fulfillment center. So I'll buy things in bulk, I'll get the label, I'll send it to the fulfillment center, and it'll ship to their door automatically. I just started doing that this month. So for most people that reach out to me, I actually give them the links towards some of the things that I don't supply. Like, so if people schedule a consultation with me, I'll give them most of my suppliers because I'm not,
Okay.
I don't really need to try to get money from that because there's so much people to help, right? So I just give it to the other people who are really amazing people as well. They're people that have 30 years into this, and so they've built really good systems and products around healing. So I don't have to do that. I can leverage what they do to just add to what I do. So yeah, I mean, it's all on an individual person basis. I try not to give people too much things at one time because it gives them the data overload and then they don't do anything.
Yeah.
you know? One step at a time, man. One step. So yeah, I'm here, man.
Yeah. So, but you do have those if people want to either have a consultation with you or download the information, the books themselves, and spend their time that way. The
in my bio on
yeah,
IG.
oh, it's the flow code Holistic Jedi, right? That's where they should go. Probably would be the best.
Yeah, they
Or on
can find
your
that.
Facebook page.
They could find that on my page. Hey, baby, here, come. They can find that on my page on Instagram and Facebook. Come, one second. Stop trying to escape. Come here. Come here. You want to get on the live with Daddy? Hmm? 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 She's like,
Hey there.
come. Okay. I think it's Daddy time. Come, let's get you some stuff. Oh. Come. Here you go, Mama.
You know, I know. I don't want to. I can't name a name, but I know someone who would agree with everything that we're saying, and they wanted to raise their child in a very natural way. So they did an underwater birthing process to make sure the child didn't. First of all, the mother and the father both did lots of birthing breath work to process as much of their own personal trauma as possible, so they didn't
Yeah.
give it to the child. Then they had the child born underwater, did the underwater birthing method, and they didn't send the child to school. Right? They kept them from picking up. You know, your kid could be practically an enlightened master, and then after 1 week in school, hanging out with all the children of all the meat eaters and hearing all the talk about how hard it is and nothing works and how right they'll get all messed up. So they didn't do that, and then so I'm with them, and this little girl's like maybe 8, and we decided to go to a state fair. And after about 10 minutes, 15 minutes walking around, she just turned to her dad and said, "It's like they're all zombies."
That's, you know, that's a conundrum, boy. That's the conundrum I'm trying to fix right now because she's here. She needs a community. You know, she can't be in a community full of zombies. I think children are protected about till the age of like 9, you know, but once their personalities, their subconscious mind have been primed with, you know, useless information and behaviors, then they're like mini zombies. You know, that's what teachers are seeing in school right now. You know, they're mini zombies in class. You know, that's I don't know if you saw it, but there's a bunch of breakouts of fights. You know, and
Yeah, the
people
fight.
don't understand that it's a effect of having a. Okay, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to flip the light? Go ahead. It's an effect of basically having a whole lifetime of insanity. Like you do you know children are ignorant? They're seeing what's going on in the world. They're listening. They're looking. They're watching. They're on the internet, and they're just like, "What the hell is this about?"
Yeah.
You know, they need answers, and they're gonna be pissed. That's why I try to tell people. All these people that are just going along with the program, they're gonna have some pissed off young people because they're gonna see clearly what's going on and what could have been done and what wasn't done. Oh goodness.
Well, yeah, it's like if you think of things like global warming, for example, and how everything is happening a lot faster than even the even the most extreme doomsayers thought we would have at least another 30 years, and it's looking like everything's happening right now. So for a young person looking around, it's like being in the back seat of a car that's barreling towards the cliff, and you say to I can do this right. You say to the driver, "Hey man, don't you think we should change course or slow down?" And the driver's like, Yeah, we probably should, but they just keep going the same way. If you're in the back seat, actually, yeah, I was the only time in my life I ever feared for my life. I was in the back seat of a taxi in Capri in Italy, and I thought, and the driver was on a mountain road. He kept with two-way traffic, and he kept going into the other lane, and like almost head-on collisions with cars and trucks one after the other. Then he would swing out to the correct lane, and right on the edge of the mountainous road, I'd be looking out the window, and I'd see nothing but cliff for 3,000 feet, and
That's
no matter
crazy.
what I said, he just kept driving the way he was driving. So I was like, so these kids now, they're like in the back seat of an automobile being driven off a cliff, and no matter what they say, we just keep driving straight toward the cliff.
More and more. It's
So yeah, maybe they wouldn't want to like get in the back. There's another shot. There's another person, and child, teenager, whatever, young man, young woman in the back seat with them. They might get so nervous they're going to start like punching each other.
I mean, when there's anxiety and chaos, anger is the natural response. It's confusion. I really don't know what to do with that outside of, hopefully create an underground movement so children can all microdose. They I think I'm gonna keep saying that because I think that's the key, because it brings you into that sense of awareness where your emotions don't control you. You come outside of the ego, and when you come outside of the ego, it's easier to be present. Hmm? Ray, I think I'm gonna have to we're gonna have to end this session.
You got daddy duties.
Yeah, I do. I gotta change some diapers and stuff, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we don't. We just run straight through. We don't do commercials, and we just run straight through, and then people
Oh
can
yeah,
watch
I'm on.
it.
How long are you on the air?
Um, it's 2 hours, but we've been on just under for an hour, a little over an hour and a half. So I will say goodbye, and I'm just going to end the show here because
Hey man,
I just like to talk to people.
we definitely need to go by West Beach and do some breathing.
Yeah, we're gonna connect for sure.
Maybe I'll talk to the owner for you so we can just go ahead and set that up.
Cool.
Yeah, man, I'd love to get an hour worth of transformational breathing with the sunset. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually like a thing where we do wet water rebirthing, wet water breath work, where you're in the water, but it's pretty intense. So I like to take people through a few dry sessions first before we do that.
Yeah, the minerals from the ocean would definitely pull on all of the positive ions that would be pushed out of the lymph. That is a little intense. But that's really dope. That's really dope. I've always wanted them to put a steam sauna there so that you could go straight from a steam sauna right into the salt water. That's something I've really been wanting to experience but haven't yet. That would be magical. A glass room. That way it could be glass so you can get the sun and get the steam and then go out into the ocean. It'd be beautiful.
I have. I also teach about spiritual purification with the four elements, and including fire purification, which is sitting in front of a large fire. So I've always had this like design in my head of like a Japanese bathtub surrounded by four fire pits, and you just do your water and air and fire all in one place.
You would really like the Himalayan salt crystal room inside in Atlanta in Jeju. There's a room that it's really hot, and it's literally built out of Himalayan salt crystal, chunks of it. And yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And then there's another room that has amethyst to the top in the shape of the Star of David. Then there's aquamarine and selenite and some rose quartz in there. It's really beautiful, and it resonates. If you go in there and you make any noise, if you say "Om," the whole room just reverberates. I miss it. I really miss it.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
I have to talk about.
All right. I don't want. You can tell me. I just want to say the university. It's at University of Georgia. It's in Atlanta.
I went to Georgia State University.
Georgia State, but this crystal room you're talking about, is it Georgia State or it's just in Atlanta?
No, it's in Duluth. It's
Duluth.
45 minutes up north from Atlanta.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you'd love it. And then there's one they built just, they really look like money cleaning businesses. But there's another one. It's called Spa Land. That one's even bigger. It's twice the size. Not as fancy, but there's steam. The bathing area is amazing. It's the most amazing. You can do qigong in the jacuzzi. That's how big it is.
Wow.
It's like a pool jacuzzi.
Like it's a jacuzzi the size of a pool.
It's amazing. The more I talk about it, the more I'm about to catch a flight. So let me stop talking about it too soon because I need to go to DR first.
Yeah. We could have something like that here on this island. This could be like a healing paradise.
It would take about $2 million, but yes, it's possible. The investors are there. They just don't know the opportunity yet. I would turn it into a place where people go in and put little cubicles so that they can live. And in 3 weeks, they go in there with diabetes or high blood pressure, and 3 weeks they come out, they no longer have it.
All right, let me let you go. I can see the. I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for joining us, Michael, the holistic specialist, aka the Holistic Jedi. You guys check him out on Facebook, Michael Conception Lee. If you're watching this video, you're on the page where all the links will be posted anyway. So all you gotta do is click. Thanks again, Michael. I really love you. One love. Thank you. All right, guys. That was Michael Conception Lee. Knowledgeable, creative, free thinker, not afraid to go to where his thoughts lead him. Nonconformist. Check him out. He probably knows more about creating and maintaining a healthy lifestyle for yourself than he's probably forgotten more than most people ever knew. I will definitely be talking to him about ways to make healthy living lifestyles, emotions, thought processes more widely available to more people. It's good, it's good to see younger people like Michael, because, I'm beginning to feel like the world will be in good hands for future generations if we can just keep ourselves from destroying it before people like him and the people coming after him have a chance. So that's all I have. Check out his links. You can join me Sunday night, 7:30 for the Sunday 7:30 sitting. It's going to be on Zoom. It's going to be on Facebook live streamed. If you want, you can go to my Facebook page and click the link to join us by Zoom if you want to. It'll Zoom is just the only thing good about Zoom is it's easier to ask questions. So if you've got like particular questions you want to ask, you can use that. Monday is Labor Day, of course, so we'll be taking time off for that. All right, I don't want to belabor this any longer. Many thanks to Michael for coming on. I really enjoyed the conversation. Many thanks to all of you who tuned in, who came in with questions on the chat box. I hope we answered them all. Yeah, he was talking about a water generator. So it takes the hydrogen. I did, like I said on the show, I've just heard about this, but so I can't really explain it. I haven't even really looked into it, but I do know it exists. I didn't know it had been around this long. I didn't know it was already in Puerto Rico. It takes hydrogen and oxygen out of the air and puts them together to make water. Right? And apparently, so, I mean, that's always been possible, and I've known about that. You can even make water like in a survival situation. You get a sheet of plastic and put it maybe 3 inches over the ground, and the condensation from the grass, you put a stone in the middle of the plastic, maybe a foot above ground. So you put it, and you have a sheet of plastic, and you put a rock in it to make a depression, and leave it overnight, and put a cup underneath it right where the rock is, and the evaporation and condensation from the grass and the soil or even sand will fill your cup with water overnight. So that's a way of extracting water from the atmosphere. But these solar-powered water generators are some kind of device that actually pull hydrogen and oxygen out of the air and combine them to make water. And but what I did not realize is it's gotten to the point of being, workable, efficient. The efficiency of them, the amount of water they can produce for the amount of power going in or the length of time that it takes, it's like usable now, right? Because like if all you're like with the rock thing, that's like if you're by yourself and you're stranded on some island, you're going to get maybe half a cup a day. That's just going to basically keep you alive, hopefully, while you wait to be rescued. So this technology is like usable amounts of actual water, like something you can do something with. Plus, there's no contaminants. There's no, you didn't put it in a plastic bottle like Michael was saying. It wasn't shipped across country. It's made right there on the spot. So you can't get any purer than that. So, and they do exist. And they even have solar powered versions of them. And people are concerned about the current state of the climate and the way things are going, are looking into them. All right. So I hope I answered that final question. And remember, if you are flowing unconditional love, if you're flowing, you feel the energy. If you can feel the energy flowing without blockages, that is the healthiest, most sane, SANE way to live. So, namaste, everyone. Thank you. Love you all. Have a great weekend. Get out in nature. Get out by the beach, get some negative ions, get out by a tree. Get that life force energy. Get out in nature. Get away from the blue screen. It's you'll feel a whole lot better. All right, this is Children of the Sun. See you next Friday here on AM 970 WSTX, the Soul of the Caribbean, 12:30 to 2:30, and thank you for tuning in. Bye.